to local selection. That's what I want to talk about. But let's step back a little bit. What is selective sweep? You probably all know selective sweep is a beneficial mutations occurring, rising frequency. It drives with it linked variants, so it causes a reduction in the effective population size of nearby sites and therefore reduction in genetic diversity. Background selection is kind of the opposite. So the choose mutations, the haplotype eventually dies off, and that also causes reduction in NE and therefore reduction in genetic diversity. The important factors causing, explaining affecting the intensity of background selection are selection coefficient, how do you choose each new mutations, the mutation rate, and the recombination rate. All three of these factors vary and potentially co-vary throughout the genome, so the intensity of background selection is expected to vary throughout the genome. Now, thinking about that in the structured populations, as background selection causes low NE, it would also cause high FST because these two things are inversely related. Okay, so that means that if we have variation in intensity background selection throughout the genome, we would expect to also have variation in FST throughout the genome, and that's the issue I want to talk about. I think that when we look for evidence of local adaptation, often what we do is that we make this genome scan, look for regions that show high FST, high divergence. If they're big enough, we call them genetic island of divergence. And what these papers have recently suggested, especially the Cruikshank-Hines 2014, is that background selection, strong background selection, could do the same kind of sudden high population divergence over a specific region, and so we could confound. You could think this is due to local selection, but actually it's nothing but background selection at play. So the question I want to ask is really, like, can background selection really be a confounding factor to local selection? And there has been a number of studies on the subject. I think they all kind of share the same features. It's very well explained in Charles Weather et al. 97, when they say the simulations were intended to show the qualitative effects of the various forces studied. So we did not choose biologically plausible values. Rather, we used values that would produce a clear-cut effect. So far, I think we mainly tried to show that it is possible that background selection could cause such a genetic island of divergence, but we don't really know if it's really plausible for realistic parameter values. So that's what we want to do. Our approach is pretty straightforward. So we made numerical simulations because that's what we do best, and we consider a genome, the Stickleback genome, and we for every single simulation we randomly select one big chunk of the genome of about 10 centimorgans, and we're going to simulate everything that is in these 10 centimorgans. So we want to simulate the gene, the exons, and everything. So we need a gene map, we need a recombination map for that. We also need to reproduce the variation in mutation rate that exists, but we don't have good estimates for that. So we just went for a mean mutation rate of 2.5 times 10 to the minus 8, and the actual mutation rate varies from locus to locus following an exponential distribution. We also need a distribution of fitness effects that was mainly inspired by Gilbert in 2017 to be more accurate about what we did exactly. Every exon has its own distribution, own gamma distribution of fitness effect. What I'm showing here is the overall distribution. So as you can see, there's plenty of quasi-neutral mutations. There are like 2% of lethal mutations, and the average selective coefficient of a non-lethal mutation is around 0.07. Every statistics that I will present have to come from the focal region. So this small area of 10 to the 5 sites, it's not on scale, by the way, it should be much smaller than the 5 sites. So every statistic comes from this small central region of 10 to the 5 sites. In terms of demography, we did something quite simple. We started with a single population of 1,000 individuals. It goes through a burning phase of 10,000 generations, then split into 2 populations of 1,000 individuals each. We have different migration scenario, no migration, intermediate migration, high migration. And of course, we have treatment with background section and treatment without background section. So no background section, just simply empty, neutral, very easy. We sampled the simulation different times throughout the simulations, and so as I've tried to make the simulation number of different simulation platforms, but I couldn't find something that was really performant enough. So one day I got angry and I wrote my own. So it's called Simbit. I'll put the links in the last slide. So here are the results. There's a lot going on this slide. All you have to know is that each row is a statistic of genetic diversity. So we have HS, the within population genetic diversity, the overall genetic diversity, and this is just the number of SNPs. Each x-axis is going to time from -1 just before the state to 10,000 positions at the end of the simulation. Each column is a migration scenario, right? And whether there is background section or not is color-coded. So orange, there is background section, blue, no background section. And the only point I want to make with this slide is that on average, so this is the mean and standard error for 2,000 simulations every single time. On average, the background section causes a reduction of genetic diversity of about 5%, max 10%. And this is very much congruent with what has been shown previously by Messer and Petrov. So nothing new, nothing surprising. Things get interesting when you look at FST. So on the y-axis we have Ware and Cockram FST. By the way, if you used just the arithmetic of FST throughout the whole focal region, which you shouldn't do anyway, but if you do, you're going to see something a bit different. I don't quite have time to talk about it for the moment. And so no migration, intermediate and high migration, what you can see is that indeed background section often causes slightly higher FST values of the order of like max 5%. The most important effect is over here, but otherwise, most of the time it's not even significantly different. We can, but this is just the average, right, of what I'm showing. So we can zoom into the actual, look at the full distribution, and if we do so, we can see that the distribution of whether there is background section or not, distribution of FST are still very much similar. You can zoom in the tail, and it still look very similar. So it doesn't look like background section has much of an impact with in these simulations. So if we believe that these results can be generalized, and I want to highlight this point, so I'm just going to repeat it. If you believe we can generalize these simulations, then it would mean that when you make this kind of genome scan and see a peak of high population divergence, you can, going like from 0.05 to 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, even almost 0.8, you can be quite confident that this is not background section. Right? There would be something else, something more interesting going on here than just background section. But now, our general our results, well, we just population size 1,000 individuals, maybe it varies with population size. We actually ran simulation with 10,000 individuals. They are not fully finished yet, that's why I couldn't include them in the presentation. But the results seems very similar so far, so not much of a big change. We only have 2 populations. We want to make simulations with more population to make sure that we still get the same results. We use the sticklepath genome. Maybe the sticklepath genome is just a bit weird. It's possible. So we want to repeat that with the human genome to just make sure we get the same result. And as the human genome is well annotated, we want to also add selection on the regulatory sequences, because for the moment we only had selection on the exons. So, in conclusion, in our simulations, background selection has very little effect on FST. This effect is negligible in comparison to the range of values that FST statistics typically take in genome-wide analysis. And with that, I want to thank Michael Whitlock, my supervisor, Lauren Rizwood, and Salia for advice and help to design the experiments, as well as Marius Rushdie and Tom Booker. Thanks for the founding agency, and here's a link to Simbit, and I'll be happy to take any questions. Yeah.
Did you say you varied the recombination rate? And the reason I'm asking across simulations is whether you see a recombination rate that could be generated by background selection?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Something that we wanted to do just before I came here and I forgot. And so probably, but I can't really tell someone. Yeah.
What was the dominance on average? How long did it take for a bad mutation to exit the population?
How long does it take for a bad mutation to exit the population?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't measured it, but I guess very much depends on how they choose the mutation. Lethal would be obviously direct. Theory tend to suggest that mildly delete mutations would have a bigger effect at reducing the effective population size because it may drift a little bit and then kill more than just one individual. But we haven't measured anything.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. Does it seem like these, I guess I don't know what the distribution, it's not your distribution selection, and I don't know how that sort of lines up in the sort of world of mildly deleterious.
Yeah, right. So I don't know. As I said, there has been some theory in it. I don't think there's any of this analytical modeling really make a good prediction of the relationship between S and how much it reduces NE. I just know that for a given recombination rate, the worst selection coefficient you can have is when S equals this recombination rate. All right, thank you.
I realize I have to talk.